Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the break. And we'd like to welcome you and invite you to go with us into the exciting and dynamic world of campaign finance regulation. So that's actually FEC check. The FEC is the Federal Election Commission. So we are aware, as well as anyone is, especially here in DC, that the cost of running a political campaign has constantly been on the rise. That's a little funny thing there. It says we win the lottery, we can actually run for public office. It costs a hell of a lot of money to run for public office, and that's not a good thing for our democracy. And we actually think that it's a good thing for business. The product that we are proposing is an automated compliance solution. It's going to be based on campaign finance regulations, and it is going to be an automated software, and it's going to be accompanied by a user manual that will make campaign finance compliance available to people with very little background, prior experience in campaign finance. This is the team. My name is Ram. I am originally from India. I grew up in Bombay. I went to Brown University for my undergraduate studies. And currently, I'm compliance manager for a political campaign finance firm in Providence, Rhode Island. And this is Erinn.
Hi. I'm Erinn. I'm actually a PhD student here at GW in the political science department. And before I came to GW, I worked at the Federal Election Commission as a campaign finance analyst, mostly specializing in political parties, but I also did some national committees, including the Obama and McCain victory committees. So that's really where my inspiration for this product came from. I saw how difficult it was for committees to comply with the campaign finance laws, and also how much money they ended up spending on compliance services and legal fees. And I realized that there was a wide open market for an automated software solution that could take the human element out of it and reduce costs drastically. So this, just to give a very brief background, the McCain-Feingold Act was passed in 2002 and in the wake of the Enron scandal, and it heightened the FEC's enforcement capacity. And enforcement is a good thing for transparency and accountability, but it had the unintended consequence of raising the cost of campaigns in terms of civil fines and the compliance services that were necessary in order to comply. So where did these fines come from? Largely, they're a result of an accumulation of letters that committees receive from the FEC. This is an example of one. This is actually one that I wrote to the Obama committee in 2008. And what I did as an analyst was I would take a report that was submitted to me by a committee, and I would take essentially a checklist and go point by point looking for any errors or issues. And if there was any discrepancies, then I would send the committee a letter asking them to clarify for the public record. But what ends up happening is an accumulation of these letters. The more letters that a committee receives, the more likely they are to incur enforcement costs, such as audits and civil fines. So just to give you an example of how costly these can be, this is another letter that I wrote to the Virginia Democrats in 2008. And the letter, most of the issues that were on it concerned things like incorrect math total errors and vague purposes and other benign type issues. But the accumulation of these problems over time ended up giving them a $5,000 civil penalty, which is bad enough as it is, but it doesn't even compare to the $240,000 that they ended up spending on legal fees and compliance services during that time period, trying to remedy some of these issues. So that's where FEC check really comes, or where it stands out from the other services. For one, what we did to develop the product was we put together specifications that mimic the process that an analyst goes through when they review the report. And then also, it takes out the human element. So even campaigns that can afford to pay the best campaign finance lawyers and consultants, like presumably Obama, they're still subject to human error, like messing up math totals and things like that. And the other point that I want to note is that there's other concerns besides financial concerns why committees would want to stop these letters. I know from experience that challengers are constantly monitoring their opponent's website, just looking for a way to link them to campaign finance scandal. And so there's a political benefit to avoiding these letters as well as a financial one. So Ram's going to talk more about the specifics of the application.
All right. So, yeah, what we're showing at the top of the slide is the current system of compliance. There's campaign staffers log into campaign databases. They enter in contributions they receive. They enter in expenses that are made to different types of vendors. And they hire someone like me. Like, I'm a compliance expert, not really an expert, but I do compliance. And they hire someone like me, or they hire a lawyer. And we essentially, at the end of the day, take all the things that they've entered into the database, and we sit in front of them with checklists and a mug of coffee. And that's how we get through compliance. And then once we have gone through every single transaction and verified them against a checklist of regulations, and combined with the intuition of having worked with the FEC for a while, that experience kind of builds up over time. We turn it into the Federal Election Commission, and because of the human involvement in it, or because of the fact that we deal with a huge volume of these of transactions, especially the closer we get to an election, there are inevitably different types of errors that slip through. The Federal Election Commission addresses them in the form of a request for additional information, which is kind of like a slap in the face for a person like me who does compliance. But that's essentially what the current system is. And what we propose is that the software that we develop be used as an intermediary step, where the person on the campaign staffer, enters in all the data into the database management system. It is loaded. They go into our website, they type in the username, password, log in, hit upload on the report, goes into a software, and the software outputs something that looks like this. So this is essentially what was wrong with the Obama Victory Fund report. And this is something that the committee would have benefited hugely from having access to before it actually went to the Federal Election Commission. They'd rather that our software tells them that, so they can go back in there and fix it before turning it into the Federal Election Commission. The market for our software. So this is, and we received word this morning from one of our Beltway friends that the projected costs of running of the entire political activity in the 2012 election cycle is going to be $8 billion. And the regulations haven't changed, but the amount of money that is spent by national parties, candidates, political action committees has been constantly rising. Now, these have been rising for different reasons. There's been the increasing value of TV ad space is one of the biggest reasons, but legal fees are another huge reason why this increases. Now, that's how high the market can go, but at the bottom of the market, the good thing for us is that there has to be a minimum number of customers. The customer base refreshes every couple of years, every 2 years. There's always new people running for Congress, so we will never run out of people to sell our product to. And we will target political action committees, national party committees. Right now, there are 5,500 committees that are registered and active with the Federal Election Commission. So that's the enormity of the market that we are trying to serve. This is the competitive landscape. I'm just going to explain for a moment the chart up there. There's the x-axis is the level of customization, and then there's cost efficiency. With a very high degree of customization, you get, if you pay top dollar, you can hire a great DC law firm. They will look through every single transaction in your report, and they will try and make sure that you don't get in trouble with the FEC, but that happens anyway, as we see. On the uncustomized side of it are the database solutions that campaigns currently use. So Democrats tend to use NGP-VAN. Republicans use Aristotle, that compliance field is a partisan in nature. These are databases where, like I said, campaign staffers enter in the information, and they have some rudimentary compliance tools. And presumably the Virginia Democrats and the Obama Victory Fund used NGP-VAN, but the compliance tools that were in it were inadequate, and they resulted in a letter anyway. FEC check, what our product is something that is highly customized. So what we are coding into that software is not a set of regulations that it checks for. It's essentially the experiences of someone who has worked at the Federal Election Commission of what an analyst looks for in a product. And it's cost efficient. She's going to talk about the pricing very shortly, but we are aiming to sell it at much lower cost than what it would cost to hire a DC lawyer for 1 hour. So our sales strategy is two-pronged. We are trying to sell through two avenues. We're initially going to try selling directly to committees. We're going to target grassroots organizations, PACs, parties, compliance and legal firms, and new candidates. Now, PACs and parties, we will approach them directly. They spend thousands of dollars on legal consulting fees. Spending $200 a quarter on an automated compliance solution means almost nothing to them. Grassroots organizations are one of our most effective sales targets. These are organizations like, for example, the Indian American Leadership Initiative is an organization that tries to get Indian American candidates to run for office, and the Hispanic Caucus does the same for Hispanic members of caucus. And there's all these grassroots organizations that try to put forth these startup kits to get people into the political field and run for office. And we're going to target them to include our product in their startup kit. The new candidates, we have a system of automatically telling every time she receives an update, every time someone registers with the Federal Election Commission, and we will immediately follow that up with a letter saying, here's how, please use us to deal with the Federal Election Commission. The compliance and legal firms are one of the, it seems a bit counterintuitive because we are competing with them directly, but they are going to see the number of build hours go down, and they would want to respond by reducing their costs themselves. So we look forward to selling to compliance and legal firms as well. The other avenue through which we would like to expand is a value-added partnership with with the existing database solution providers, NGP Van or Aristotle. And this is a partisan market, so I'm guessing we're going to have to sell to only either one of them, not both. There are many costs and benefits of doing that. It'll be a symbiotic relationship. If we had a revenue sharing agreement with them, we will actually get access to their already pre-existing network of clients. Our product would be integrated into their product, and they would have the benefit of becoming a one-stop shop for all your campaign IT requirements. I'm going to hand it over to Erinn. She's going to run you through the financial projections.
So this is our 1 year. These are the projections for our 1 year. And you can see the investment. Ram and I have contributed $1,500 of our own money so far, and then we've also secured $5,000 in additional investment from the president of CFO, which is Ram's boss, to sort of help us start developing the product. So thus far, we've contracted out with a company in India, and we're working with them on nailing down a lot of the specifications. And assuming that we're able to roll out the product in July of 2011, which is what we're intending, then we'll break even in January of 2012, so about 6 months after. In terms of pricing, our price strategy is to be less than or approximately equivalent to 1 billable hour of a lawyer's time. So campaign finance lawyers charge between $200 and $450 an hour. And so our price is set at $60 a month or $180 a quarter. Assuming that this projection assumes that we're only targeting startup committees, and not that we have secured any sort of strategic partnership with the database management firms. If we are actually able to secure a value-added partnership where we share revenue and license it out to those firms, then these numbers could very easily triple or quadruple. And we're fairly confident that they have an incentive to partner with us. This is the board of advisors. Brett Smiley is Ram's boss, and he's the president and CEO of Campaign Finance Officers, which is a compliance firm in Providence, Rhode Island. Colin Delaney is founder and editor of ePolitics.com, which is a DC-centric, award-winning political blog. But his expertise is really in online advocacy and grassroots tactics. And so he's going to be instrumental in terms of our targeting and sales strategy, targeting startup campaigns and grassroots organizations. And Brent LaPointe is an attorney. He's been helpful in helping us work through the process of understanding patent provisions and obtaining a business process patent, as well as some of the liability concerns. So just to sum it up, I want to reiterate the fact that my academic interest is in campaign finance, and there is a serious problem with the rising cost of campaigns. What it essentially does, and what it boils down to, is that there's been a de facto entry fee placed on lots of political activity, but especially as it pertains to candidates. And when fundraising, and which may or may not have anything to do with legislative competence, is the key determinant of a candidate's viability. That's a serious problem, and it has really serious long-term implications. But more immediately, the effect of the regulations has placed a serious burden on other committees too that face uncertainty in fundraising prospects and budget prospects, and they end up paying these large sums of money, like I showed you, just to comply with the law. So there's a problem there. But the bright side is that there's a wide open market for a profitable, low-cost solution to some of these problems that can alleviate the burden of some of these regulations. And with my experience with the government and understanding the nuances of the FEC policy, and ROM understanding more of the private side of compliance and having relationships with those members of Congress already, I think that we are definitely the best team to put together this product and make it affordable to all campaigns, all sizes and budgets. And the GW, that's why we're here competing for this prize money, because it's a key component of our plan. So, thank you.
So what prevents Aristotle and NGP Van from implementing what you're talking about, and kind of, that would seem to be a big threat for you?
Right. Currently, NGP Van and Aristotle are not in the compliance business. They're in the database management business. And so if they were able to put together a compliance system that, like the one we're suggesting, they would have done it already. They have certain compliance things, like they can identify missing fields, but they're very rudimentary, and they don't they don't get it, a lot of the issues that these committees end up having. So, and besides that, they don't have the expertise, really, of understanding campaign finance law, which is incredibly ambiguous, and putting that into a technological product. That said, we are obtaining a patent to try to mitigate the potential of them copying our idea.
Your model is selling subscription, not the software.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Your business model is just selling subscription.
Yes.
Monthly subscription.
Monthly subscriptions.
Software.
It's going to be
one-time cost.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, in terms of price, yeah, we do intend to make it so that if they sign up for a year, then they will receive some discount on that. But right now, it's the basic price is $60 a month or $180 a quarter.
So is the plan, I mean, from an investor perspective, invest capital, you guys build the business, sell direct, sell through NGP and Aristotle, and then eventually sell the business to either NGP or Aristotle?
That is an exit strategy. I would like to see it thrive, but those are very large companies, and if that happens, that is one way to.
There will be a point when just the transaction costs of having to deal with 1,500 campaigns will outweigh the benefits offered. The transaction costs are going to increase as a chunk of our total cost. So when that point comes, we will definitely consider selling out to one of the existing players as an exit strategy.
Have you talked to them yet?
No, because we haven't gone through the whole process of getting the patent, so I didn't want to make them aware of any of this yet.
You have the process, you have the patent filed already?
No, we're working with the lawyer right now to put that together.
Have you talked to other companies that are in the compliance business in terms of potential partnerships? Maybe not federal election campaign compliance, but there are a lot of other types of compliance companies that are out there with regards to other regulatory things that are going on, who have probably a pretty good idea of how to roll something like this out. So take your expertise in federal election combined with people who are experts in rolling out compliance products and try to marry up in terms of building a moat around your business.
Definitely. Well, in fact, the software firm that we've partnered with in India, their previous project was a compliance software application for the tobacco industry in the United States. So they have the expertise of having dealt with regulatory compliance through automated processes.
And you're still with the federal government, is that right?
No, I'm a PhD student here.
But you did work.
Yes. Yes.
And you are?
I work with campaign finance officers, and we are actually one of the compliance consultants. So we will be, we have a CFO has a partnership with us.
So is
I'm
it
kind
fair
of
to
in
say
both
that the
places.
state of the art as it relates to campaign compliance today is essentially spit it out of the Aristotle or NGP database, turn it in and get a letter back and pay the lawyer? That's the way
Pretty
it works.
much. I mean, well, some of the highly funded campaigns can pay lawyers to review their reports before
Right,
they're
it's a
submitted.
process- It's a people business today. It's
Yes,
essentially just saying-
entirely.
And,
And
you- and
so-
you're just saying you can remove people cost and automate it with software.
Right.
Well, we can't. There will definitely be things where you will need some supervision on with a human. You know, you would need a human to looking at the report before you turn it in. It's just we don't propose removing the human element entirely out of the compliance process. We propose removing the human element from the validation process. The human element would definitely be present when people could make mistakes in data entry. That's something our software would catch. What we envision is that a campaign, instead of having to pay, a small campaign, instead of having to pay $8,000, $9,000 a month in legal fees, will use our product and reduce the number of billable hours that the lawyers rack up for them. So our product costs them $60 a month. If they can save $60 a month in lawyers' fees by using our product, they'll buy it.
And then also, it's also effective for large campaigns because a campaign like Obama's, where you literally had hundreds and thousands of transactions, didn't even look at the amount that he spent on lawyers, but it's a lot. And so what a computer is really good at is identifying all these things very rapidly, and then having a compliance person or somebody on the campaign go back and actually fix them. So it's beneficial for small and large campaigns.
Did you consider some sort of transaction fee as opposed to a subscription fee, so that the amount of revenue that you're getting may be tied to the size of the campaign?
NGP has a system like that. For right now, we wanted to sort of emphasize the fact that it's a low-cost product, but I'm not opposed to looking into that, clearly.
Is this something that you're just catching the error before it's reported? Are they not going to incur the same legal or other expenses to correct the problem, and they're just saving the FEC violation charge, or is this truly going to? I mean, it seems a little. The legal fees aren't just for correcting the fact that you reported it. It's you got to correct the problem at its inception, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think this would still save on, but.
Right. In terms of fines and having to deal with the FEC, Office of General Counsel or Alternative Dispute Resolution, or the other, or Reports Analysis Division, those are the three divisions, it's going to save a lot of time on lawyers' fees in that sense. So if they get a letter, and I don't know how clear it was up here before, but the letters are not easy to understand. And you can have a problem as simple as a math total error being off, and a committee looks at this and just doesn't understand. And so that's why they automatically go to the lawyer route. But yeah, there will be still a reason for committees to need lawyers. But having this product will reduce that drastically. I mean, most fines and audits exclusively, I believe, are based on receiving these letters. So it's a key element.
Are most errors now, are the number of errors going down by virtue of having a lot of websites where you could pay online? Does that kind of reduce the number of errors that there could be, or is that still prone to?
No, I mean, in terms of what I've seen, it hasn't reduced anything. Because, in fact, in some cases, it's made it worse because instead of having people at an event that write a check, they go online, and they don't necessarily see the importance of having to write down or input their employer and occupation. So I've seen a lot of missing entries entirely. Campaigns try to correct for it, but it's difficult when you're not really telling people that this is the law to submit this information.
Are you trying to integrate your software to be compatible with those systems?
That's what the database management systems really do. So not right now, because our application doesn't have the function of submitting the reports directly to the FEC. That's still going to be the database management systems.
It's like an external audit check.
Right, right.
Yep.
It would confuse things to have our software link with the FEC, I think.
Okay, great. Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Very nice.